Securing a training contract or a pupillage is a game. It's not a game of chance, it's a game of skill and it's a game of experience. And when it comes to drafting your work experience, you should be following a process to ensure that you're checking all the boxes a prospective employer wants to see. And that process is what I call work experience mapping. And that's exactly what we're going to get into here in today's video, so strap in. Guys, it's nice to have you back on the channel. If you're new here, my name's Taz and I'm a future trial lawyer based in the UK. For today's video, I've put together a free Notion template, which is called Work Experience Mapping, and the link for that is in the description below. I do also want to flag my previous video, which I'm going to put up here, called the Research Matrix, which is designed to help you find the best either law firm or chambers that's suited to your individual profile, and the link for that is in the description below. In the UK legal system, you are either applying to be a solicitor or you're applying to be a barrister. Both of these have their own unique set of competencies and standards which are outlined by either the Bar Standards Board or the Solicitor Regulatory Authority. And they're very important documents to have a look at because essentially they outline the skills that you want to be identifying when you come to apply for a training contract or a pupillage. So let's have a look at the BSB document. If you type in BSB, competency and standards, all you have to do if you're applying to the solicitor profession is swap out BSB with SRA, and it is the second document called Statement of Solicitor Competence. So let's go and check this BSB one out together and we'll see why it's valuable. So as you can see here, professional statement for barristers. And here we go, barrister distinctive characteristics, legal knowledge, skills and attributes. This is what the regulatory authority for this profession deem to be the skills, which is extremely useful to know when you're applying to the individual chambers or law firms. I'm not going to go through all of them. Practical knowledge, skills and attributes, advocacy, obviously. But the point is, you can go through this document, you can begin to build a table of the skills that you should be focusing on when you come to apply. Now that you've read either the SRA document or the BSB document, you have an idea of what the competencies and the standards are for the profession. So what work experience mapping is basically mapping your work experience onto those competencies and standards. And the way we go about doing that is create a table with two columns. In the left column, you're going to put the competencies or the standards. And in the right column, you're simply going to put your work experience. I'm going to do a walkthrough on how we do it, but that's basically the bare bones of what we're talking about today. Hopefully, over the years, you've built up enough experience to be able to demonstrate each of those competencies and standards. If you're looking at your table and you don't have anything to fill the blanks, then it's a strong indicator that you need to go out and get more experience. Because remember what I said at the beginning of the video, in today's competitive market, the experience is a given. It's a baseline entry requirement. So if you don't even have it, you're not in the running. For work experience, the advice always is you should tailor it to each organisation, be that chambers or firm. And I'm going to show you why that is the advice. If we type in Redline Chambers here, go on their website, go to their pupillage section. Now, it's worth noting that this isn't going to be the case for every firm, for every chambers, but a lot of them will have a section on their website where they tell you these are the skills, competencies, standards that we care about. And these should be the focus of your work experience in bringing those skills to the forefront. So if we scroll down here, we'll see that they have a section called Application Marking and Selection Criteria. And as you can see, it's exactly what they care about. Written communication and presentation, legal experience, your motivations for wanting to come to the bar, your interests in them. You can't miss this when it comes to the work experience breakdown section of your application. For solicitors, it's the same thing. Let me show you. So if we type in here, Norton Rose Fulbright training contract, and we click on this one here, you'll see what we're looking for: commercial awareness, global outlook, open-mindedness, curiosity. strength beyond academia, long-term motivation. The work experience section should be selectively targeting these and mapping your experiences onto these to demonstrate why you have the criteria that they're looking for in a trainee solicitor. It's very worthwhile doing a master document for your work experience. And the reason for that is because you're going to come across firms or chambers that care about the same skills and qualities, whatever they may be. You don't want to redraft it every single time. The process is already long enough. Don't make it any harder on yourself than it needs to be. We need to be getting through these applications as fast as possible without compromising on quality, and the master template is going to help you do that. Let's go through this work experience mapping table together. Before we do, you can see here, I've put a note, 2 notes. The first is to say that there is a distinction between skill and quality. You should be mindful of that when you're answering questions on applications. Sometimes they try and trip you up with that. So make the distinction in your mind that there is a bit of a difference. It's subtle, but it's there. The other thing to say is that for the right-hand column, which is the evidence column or your work experience column, I've just put some guidance as to how you should actually draft your individual work experience. If you don't have any experience in actually drafting applications before, you tend to believe that you just want to write down everything that you did, and you later discover somewhere along the journey that that's completely wrong. You get no marks for description. They don't care about what you did more than they care about the things that I've included here, which are: what have you seen? What did you do? Yes, both description, but most importantly, the description sets up the third point, which is: why is it relevant? And it's relevant because you've either learned something, it's sparked an interest, it's caused a pivoting in your journey in some way. There has to be relevance to the description, to providing persuasive evidence as to why it's making you a better prospect to be the next barrister or solicitor. Always have that in your mind when you're drafting work experience. Ask yourself, how does this thing that I'm writing make me a better barrister or solicitor? And if it's just chat, it's just description, you're way off. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this table. You'll note here I put a key. In red are the hard skills, in purple are the soft skills, and in blue are the qualities. We've got the table here. As you can see, on the left, we've got the competency or the standard or the skill, whatever. The competency is basically the hard or soft skill. The qualities tend to be the standards that they're looking for. On the right, we've got the evidence, i.e. your work experience. Let's run through the skills and the qualities together. We're going to start off with the hard skills, then we're going to go on to the soft skills, and then we're going to end on the qualities. And as we go through them, I'm basically, because there's a lot of them, I'm going to explain to you what I put an emphasis on, but I want you to remember that I was applying for a criminal pupillage. I wasn't applying for a commercial pupillage. I wasn't applying to be a solicitor. So the skills that you include or focus on in the application are going to depend on which branch of the profession you're applying to. So the first one is intellectual achievement. You can see below every hard skill and soft skill, I've tried to give a description that has come from the BSB document as to what qualifies, what does that mean, intellectual achievement or analytical thinking. I've given a description below, bullet points that will be very helpful when you're actually drafting your work experience to map them and pull out those details in your experience, which are listed below. To save time here, I've just put one-liners and I'm going to talk you through them, what I put emphasis on, as I've said. But to begin with, intellectual achievement, that just tends to be taken care of by your grades. You're not going to try and weave in that you're a high intellect. They'll see it for themselves. If you've not got the best grades, then potentially worth flagging some achievement or module that you've done well in. Next is analytical thinking. This is one of the most important hard skills for either side of the profession. Here I basically used my dissertation, which ended up getting published by Lincoln's Inn, as an example. And when I'm filling this out, I'm basically taking the reader through what was the complex legal problem that had to break down, what was the solution, etc. Next is advocacy skills. The most important hard skill if you're applying to the bar tends to be some type of mooting experience or advocacy experience that you've done to demonstrate the skill. Then you've got effective communication. This is extremely important to either side of the profession. And this effective communication is broken down into oral and written. You need an example for each. I tend to use my paralegaling experience as written, and for oral, I normally refer to my time working as a student director for the Street Law Project. Because you're delivering presentations to children, I think it's a very good example to use. Ability to work independently, not really a biggie. I didn't weave it in. If it came up in a question, like I've got there, I've got an example for it, which was my dissertation. Commercial awareness, again, I was applying for criminal pupillage, not really relevant to me. Very relevant for solicitors applying to big law. Sound judgment and logical reasoning, extremely important. I've sat with a barrister in a mini pupillage who believed that was the most important skill required at the bar. So it's obviously worth a mention. For me, I use my experience in management, working at a restaurant to demonstrate that skill. Resilience is the most, in my view, important soft skill that you need for the bar because it's a stressful job. It's high stakes regardless of what branch you're in, if you're into commercial, civil, family, crime, and it doesn't always go your way. Some days you might have bad days, you may lose the case, whatever it may be. They're looking to see, can you bounce back? Do you have that in you? So resilience for longevity at the bar is extremely important. I normally refer to my Syria example, which was when I was a kid. I was like 10 years old. Me and my brother flew out to Syria to live with separate aunts to learn Arabic, and without my parents. So I was young, really difficult experience, didn't speak a word of Arabic at the time, just turned up to an Arabic high school and went from there. So yeah, as you can imagine, a lot of resilience needed for that. Like intellectual ability, motivation is normally evident from looking at your application. How much experience have you done? How much commitment have you shown to your profession? Interpersonal skills, extremely important. I refer to my witness service voluntary experience for that one. That's all about managing witnesses, dealing with, exercising some level of emotional intelligence. Whether you're applying for the solicitor or barrister profession, it's extremely important, and lawyers put a lot of emphasis on it. Relatable, I didn't put much emphasis on it. It did come up as a question. Organisation and time management, very important. Here I put my paralegal role. Any role that you've been in where you're juggling a lot of things, you've got a lot of expectations on you, different masters that you're serving, is a good one to include there. Working under pressure, I think it's important. May not be relevant in all areas of law, but for a lot of them it is. Here I put my death row experience. It was a good one for me to use. It was a high pressured role. Attention to detail, I know a lot of people put emphasis on that. It really comes down to, do they mention it in their website for me? It's not one of the big ones. And then leadership, I think that's very important. It goes with sound judgment for me. Sound judgment being in a leadership role, making effective decisions. I normally tie all of them in together. And again, here I've referred to my experience in management. Integrity is incredibly important at the bar because for a lot of barristers, they're self-employed. They don't have an employer looking over them, watching over their decision making. Barristers need to know when they bring you in that you're going to make the right decision when no one's watching. You are going to make the decision that serves your clients, your lay clients' best interest, not your interests. That's why there's such an emphasis on it. Normally though, this will tend to come up in a competency-based question at interview as opposed to you weaving in to your work experience why you have integrity. Ambition, I didn't put much emphasis on it in the work experience section. Work ethic and commitment, I use my job as a pot wash, ex-pot wash. That was one of the first jobs that I've ever had, and that was an absolute graft. Scraping sludge off plates for like 10 hours a day. That, to me, talks work ethic. Desire and wanting to learn, I normally save that for interview. It's a nice one to speak about, books that you read or podcasts. For me, it's more of a natural fit to weave it in there. These last three, sense of humor, confidence, and thick skin, I think these are better shown, demonstrated, as opposed to written or said that you have. So saying you have a sense of humor or you're confident, are you? Do you? It's a tough sell. And if I read it, I wouldn't necessarily believe it. So it's better off waiting for you to get to interview. Show them that you're confident. Show them that you have a sense of humor if the opportunity arises. That wraps up the work experience mapping table. If you've got any questions for me, shoot them into the comments section in this video and I'll do my best to get back to you. Let's end on this quick fire competency checklist. I've included it here. It's more of a tool for interview. When you come to interview, if someone says interpersonal skills, you should have an example programmed in your mind that you're just reeling off. The problem becomes when we have, as I've said, several experiences and they start getting muddled in your mind. You can choke an interview because of that. I thought it was really helpful to actually include them here at the bottom and for you guys to tie one experience to each hard skill, soft skill, or quality and drill them so that they become like second nature. And other than that, guys, you know what it is. See you at the next one.